Good afternoon and welcome to Wilmington Biz Talk presented by the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. Today we are talking with our Coastal Entrepreneur of the Year winner. But first we will hear a message from our sponsor.
Hello, I'm Ann Gardner, CEO of Cape Fear Realtors. Realtors support this program's efforts to connect our community in meaningful dialogue with actionable insights. Realtors are dedicated professionals who build strong, resilient communities and businesses. Work with someone you can trust. Work with a realtor. Learn more at capefear.realtor.
Welcome back to Wilmington Biz Talk. Today, our guest is Danielle Mahon of Topsail Steamer. On last Friday, she was honored as the Coastal Entrepreneur of the Year. And today, we're just going to talk to her about her company and growth and what it's like to be an entrepreneur. First of all, thank you for being here, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, first, if you want to tell us a little bit about Topsail Steamer and how you started it.
Sure. So Topsail Steamer, what Topsail Steamer is about is we make seafood steam pots for our customers to take home and steam and eat at home. All our steam pots are made with, start with our base of corn and potatoes and cocktail sauce, butter, paper for the table. And then we fill them with a combination of fresh local seafood and meats and vegetables. You get to pick your own seasoning. And then we have 4 homemade seasonings. And then customers take it home in a single-use pot that we build it in and cook it on their stovetop for about 40 to 50 minutes. So we opened our first storefront, our brick and mortar store, in March of 2017 in Surf City in Topsail Island, which is where I live. I opened it with my family, my son and my daughter, and friends of the family as well. It's how it really all started out. And we have since grown to 6 stores, 2 here in North Carolina, and we have 3 in New Jersey and 1 in Delaware. And we also ship our pots nationwide with Goldbelly online.
And you've mentioned before that you used to have a corporate job. What made you or kind of what gave you the strength or the empowerment to leave that job to start your own business?
Well, and that's true. I've had always been in corporate America, with my last about 10 years being in the life sciences industry out, and we lived in Raleigh, and I worked out of RTP. But I had always always wanted to have my own business. I always say I always knew I wanted to follow in my father's entrepreneurial footsteps. So he had his own business in electronics, right, components, but he kind of did the same thing, left an industry and started out something on his own. So I think I always knew I wanted to do the same, but I just never really had the right idea, or if I had the right idea, it wasn't the right time. And so and just as I'm always looking at things for opportunity and idea, I just saw this. I actually was exposed to this, or came up with this idea on a girls' trip. I was on with my mom and my sister, and we were in the Outer Banks. And we were at a full service restaurant where we noticed that, people were coming in and out and in and out. And it was the off season. And what this particular restaurant did was build them in the old, black and white enamel pots, and they'd make them for their customers. They would take them home and cook them. And the next day they would bring back the pot to the restaurant. And I just thought that was such a fantastic idea. And from there, I really just, while I definitely didn't create the steam pot, because there's so many versions of it up and down, different regions, I just created the model of, wow, I think we could do that without the full service restaurant or a seafood market. It's something that maybe we could build into a model that works. And that's really how the first Topsail Steamer came to be. And I think I got a little sidetracked there, but your question was, how did I get to do that at that time? It really was the right idea at the right time. I had just become an empty nester. Both kids were off to college. So I could really dedicate a lot of time to it. My husband is a super supportive person. I came home one day, I told the story at the awards last week, I had this idea and it just kept coming and coming and everything just kind of kept falling into place. And I think he was trying to wish it wasn't happening because, I came to one day, so I said, I think I want to quit my job and move us to the beach. And I think, want to give this thing a run. So thankfully he had enough confidence in me to say, okay, let's go.
And why do you think it's been able to grow so quickly, the business?
I think that it offers, because we're so unique, I think it really offers the people the ability to enjoy, a favorite, like a coastal favorite, seafood feast, gather around the table, but it allows them to do it in a very convenient way. So those that might not know how to put together a boil or a clam bake and where to get the ingredients and how long to cook everything, we take all that away. I mean, we give them step-by-step instructions. So I think because we're unique and we offer an at-home experience, especially in the coastal towns, which is where we are, families come down and they rent houses, and sometimes it's multiple families and friends and family. And so they love to look for things that they can do where they're in their rental home and they're, experiencing seafood and a little bit of the coast, but they do it in that it's easy and they're not intimidated by it.
Okay. And you mentioned at the awards that your number one piece of advice to entrepreneurs would be to take advantage of networking opportunities. Can you say how those kind of opportunities have helped you?
Oh yeah. From the very beginning, when I had no idea how to start a business, I've always been just, like I said, an individual contributor in the corporate world for the most part. So there were so many things I didn't know. And I would say the first, when the idea was happening, when I was forming it, the first thing I did was reach out to some peers that also had friends in the industry where I could just, put my idea out there in the world and to see what people thought and, did it make sense? And that was just even from that first conversation, I got input back that helped me mold the model. And from there, I just realized that as much as I could talk to people about my idea or talk to them about their experiences or what they've done, that, I could always glean these small pieces of advice or information that really helped me build the business. And there were so many of those nuggets along the way. Like I said, it started out with peers. I then went to the local SCORE chapter here in Wilmington, and they were really helpful. Pointed me in so many helped me pointed me in the direction to make more connections and more networking. And then I was a part of Wilma. I joined Wilma and was a part of their mentoring program. The SBTDC helped me after Florence and recovery. And obviously the CIE and Diane Durant's were a great resource. So that is the more conversations you can have, the more people you can meet. I just think it just opens up so many opportunities and ideas.
Do you have any other pieces of advice like that for people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs or starting their own businesses?
Yeah, I would just say if it feels right, then you should do it. Don't let the little things it's my husband always says, and he'll laugh that I'm saying this during this, but how do you eat a whale, piece by piece, right? So sometimes it feels so overwhelming, but if you just keep going bit by bit, you'll find that suddenly it's 5 years later and you have a business, and so just if it feels right, I would just say keep on going and ask for help. People love to provide help for I found that when you have the energy and the passion and the belief behind what you're doing, other people want to help you get there, especially if they've done it themselves. So I would just say, continue to believe in yourself and to, do it bit by bit, piece by piece.
Okay. All right. And tell us a little bit about your growth strategy going forward for Topsail Steamer.
Sure. So we really have two sides of the business right now. Our what we call our brick and mortar, our stores, and then we also have our shipping relationship or with Goldbelly for our national shipping. So for the stores, we're going to continue to look for those markets. We feel as if we've learned a lot. We're always learning, but we have a good idea about the types of markets and the criteria in those markets that will that give us an idea that we'll be able to open a successful store there. So there's a lot of different factors, and I'm sure there's many more for us to discover along the way. So, but with that information, we're going to continue to look for those to expand in those markets. Where for me, it's more of we're not going to 100 stores in 2 years, and we're gonna have a very intentional growth. We're gonna find the markets that we feel are right for us, and if the location is available in those markets, then we'll continue to grow. One of the things that we definitely want to do is look at some counter seasonality, because most of our stores right now are have a summer season, even though the shoulder season's longer as you get further south. And after COVID, the shoulder seasons all seem to be lasting a little longer, but we are going to look in the southeast to see if we can't have a counter seasonality.
So what does that mean exactly? The counter seasonality,
means the busy season is in the winter when it's slow up here. So in the Florida, in down south, where
okay.
where their busy season is opposite of where our busy season in the stores we have where we exist today.
As people seek out the warmer, even warmer areas.
That's right. Yes.
Do you see a difference? Did you see a big difference with COVID is because of the emphasis on, especially in the beginning of eating at home, not going to restaurants? Did you see a big difference with people wanting the the ready to cook meals?
We did. So, I would say a pandemic was definitely not in our SWOT analysis for opportunity, but it turns out that that's exactly right. We were a great option for people that could no longer go out to eat or go to restaurants. And so we did see in the very beginning, we weren't sure what to expect, but fortunately we had a very good business throughout a strong business throughout the pandemic. And I would say that one of the biggest factors was for us in the stores was more because our coastal towns were full, people that couldn't fly places and that weren't going overseas and travel was restricted. Lots of people were driving to their local beaches and towns. And so all of the coastal towns where we are have been just 100% capacity when it comes to rental, and it's stretching out through October and November. So it's just really the amount of people that are in our markets right now that has been the biggest driver. And then when it comes to the shipping, that was I call that a little bit of serendipity. When we decided after Florence, we really struggled here in the Topsail area for some time, and even in Wrightsville, and in terms of visitors. So I pursued a loan, and the SBTDC helped me with this through a company called Thread Capital, and they were offering resilience loans to businesses up and down that were in areas that were affected by Florence. Right. And what they'd wanted was for people, the intent of the loan was to so that you could help the business become resilient in the face of another possible natural disaster or hurricane. And what we did was we thought, well, okay, if people can't get to us during this time, why don't we figure out a way to be able to ship our pots to them? So that's where we developed the shipping model. And in January of 2020, I discovered Goldbelly, which was an online marketplace for regional favorites and niche food makers and restaurants to be able to offer their products nationally. And at the time, they only took about 1% of the people that applied. And we applied in January, not even knowing what was coming. And we shipped a pot up to New York, and they loved it. And so we were able to get up and running on their platform on March 1st of 2020, which was, as you know, just before everything really shut down. And they saw over a 300-time increase in their business because people were ordering food online and having it shipped. So we saw a very large increase in our shipping for 2020. And it wasn't, and a lot of it really, which is the part we hadn't thought about, was gifting. There was so much gifting going on. So even today, I would say we're shipping out somewhere around 50 buckets a day. And sometimes it can get up to 200 during the holidays. But I would say over 50% of that is our gifts. Happy anniversary, happy birthday, corporate gifting. So that's a part that really grew during the pandemic that we had not anticipated.
Yeah, that's a nice present.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you ship those? How do you ship a low country boil?
So we ship it in the pot that we actually that you cook it in. And what we do is we layer it with gel packs. So we layer it with gel packs, and then we set it in a box that has a styrofoam insert. So it sits within styrofoam, and then it's layered with gel packs, and they all go overnight.
Oh, wow. That's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I'd always wondered about that when I saw that you guys were shipping nationwide. So
yeah, that's how we do it.
Well, let me ask you this. Having your own business, I always feel like people like eat, sleep, and drink that it's constant. Do you have advice for like balancing that when it comes to being an entrepreneur and having your own business?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a learned behavior. It's so different from working for someone else, right? Because you do eat and sleep it because it's always on your mind. It's never not going to be on your mind because it's your business, and you always just want to be able to help make it succeed. So there's really not, it's very different. Before you could kind of turn it off and your weekend would be your own. And then on Monday morning, you'd show back up at the office and then you'd be in it. That's never going to happen here as an entrepreneur because you're always going to be thinking about it. So what I like to do is I try to schedule time, and I'm good with it. For me, Sundays are my, Sundays, I don't do email. I try not to do, if they need me in a store, definitely, but that's kind of a rule for me that Sundays are my days that I try not to engage. So I have that one day. I mean, I'm always thinking about it, but my advice would be to schedule it. It's funny. We're right after this call, my husband and I are headed out. We're going to for 2 days away because in the beginning of the summer we said, okay, let's put a couple days, like 6 days on the schedule this summer where we both commit to that we're taking off. Because if you don't, then you won't, right? Because there's always something to do. So I would just say, be intentional about your time and schedule it because you need it.
Right. And my last question is, have you guys considered any more locations here in the Wilmington area for Topsail Steamer?
Probably not the Wilmington area, but definitely the North Carolina coast. Yep. There are them towns that we think would be a great market for Topsail Steamer. It's really just about, finding the right locations, but we definitely want to expand on the North Carolina coast. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you being with us today, Danielle, and people can catch this conversation on podcast platforms, including Spotify and others. And it will also be available on Facebook. So enjoyed our discussion and hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Cece.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thanks to the Business Journal as well. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.